Hello, all my governors and governesses. I, I still. That's the intro bit. Deal with it, Andrew. This is what happens when you work with me. And this
It's been
was
so long.
Andrew's. I know it really has. Oh, I miss doing my shenanigans. I have to razz you a little bit because I did the same thing to JVL earlier this week when he returned to AEW. I had to give him a hard time, but hello to all my BC WrestlePod fandom and nerds out there, and welcome to the premiere episode of what I have, dubbed us as a review group here as the progressives, not the progressives. Get it right. We don't do all those kinds of things around here. I mean, technically we do, but hey, we're here to talk about wrestling. So, welcome to the first episode of the Progressives Review here on the BC WrestlePod Network Syndicate Conglomeration YouTube Twitch Dumb Podcasting Network. Something we kind of do almost every single day of the week with merchandise and social media. I am your host, Mikey, and of course, I am super excited to bring the world of Progress Wrestling to the BC WrestlePod, schedule. I have been a big proponent, and I'll get into it in a little bit. But of course, joining me this evening, and kind of by default, but not sorry about it, is going to be my Progress Wrestling partner until we can convince the other boys to join the cult that is Progress Wrestling, which, it's working on some. We got the professor, we got Crossweights, so we got him in GCW. I think we could get him with Progress too. But Andrew is here this evening. Andrew, has been a hot minute since we done a review together.
I know. I think it was maybe our last GCW review, but
which was live in London.
Yeah, so it's been a while, but yeah, I've since then I've definitely gone down the rabbit hole of independent promotions. GCW, Defy, Wrestling Revolver, HOG, and of course Progress, because they're out here killing it, and they're all over the place.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to have you here tonight because we're going to have some fun conversations about, well, the first Progress show that we're reviewing for BC WrestlePod, and surely not the last. I kid you not, I have the rest of the calendar filled with all the shows that we've gotten so far. So this is going to be exciting. I'm bummed we can't cover the one in April, but Lord have mercy, we got so much going on during that week.
So say there's only a few shows going on in April.
Yeah, I mean, more news on that a little bit later, but if you are new here and you like what you see on your screen, make sure to follow us on the social medias for other shenanigans that we do. We have out of context clips that are always fantastic, and nobody gets upset at those. I'm just kidding. We have a lot of fun around here. Of course, we also do the report cards for the weekly shows, as well as the pay-per-views and the specialty shows as well. So we try to keep things concise, fun, and free around here. So if that is what you vibing with, then by all means, come and join us. And, if you just want to just look from afar as well, we welcome anybody and everybody that has opinions, loves to talk wrestling, wants to just enjoy, talking about things, because that's what we're here for. Now, with that out of the way, let's begin. So, to give a little bit of background to all this. So I have been such a big proponent of British wrestling in general for the last 3 or 4 years. I know this sounds really bad to say, but I was very unaware of the British wrestling scene until NXT UK. But then once that shut down, I expanded my search to be like, all right, check out some other British wrestling federations, and of course, I keep up with Progress. I keep up with Rev Pro, which is also a big one too, which gave us the likes of Michael Oku and Will Ospreay, who are some of my two favorites right now. And of course, Progress Wrestling has been here, who's also given us the likes of like Mark Andrews and Subculture. Danny Luna had a stint here, who is now currently killing in TNA. There's just a lot of history in Progress Wrestling, and I'm super excited to finally be able to bring it to an official reviewings, because my goal for 2025 is to expand our international. So I'm excited. So Andrew, before we get into the review itself, what is your, if you have any history, what's your history with British wrestling, and how excited were you to get, be able to watch and review this?
I mean, other than some classic historical, wrestlers like William Regal and people like that we've known are, you know, famous British wrestlers, but we knew them mostly from American promotions. Um, I also didn't really know a lot, especially of the new generation of professional wrestlers from the UK or Europe until NXT UK. And then when that kind of went away, I didn't watch as much, and I actually got back into Progress Wrestling because of GCW, because they have so much crossover, and it was actually through Progress that I got interested in Defy, and they've all kind of weaved this network, which is something that's got me really interested, and also really wanting to support that because I really enjoy all of the performers, and I like what these companies are doing. And looking into the history of Progress, like the fact that essentially they were like at least 50% of NXT UK, and when NXT UK went away, Progress came back. And now they're like, all right, cool, well, if no one else is going to be here, we'll be the like main ones again. And they've built themselves back up, and I would say for what GCW is doing in the States, Progress is doing in the UK. And obviously they're going, both companies are going all around the world. But yeah, I love what they're putting on. I love their, like, it's like watching Japanese wrestling. They have their own style and their own flavor. And Progress has a very like UK European flavor to them, and I like getting to see that, because just like in American promotions, we see a lot of like Canadian wrestlers and then a lot of like Mexican wrestlers. In Progress, not only do we see the wrestlers that are from the United Kingdom countries, but we also see a lot of wrestlers from other countries. Like on this, we got some wrestlers from France, and obviously we get some wrestlers from Germany, and then occasionally we also get wrestlers from Japan and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see where they're going to go with this. I love some of the uniqueness of it, and I really appreciate a promotion that has kind of like a home base. And I think they always have really good fans, but when they're in the Electric Ballroom, it's like a home game, and it just brings a different energy than you get at a lot of promotions that just travel around a lot of places.
Oh, I 100% agree with you, and that's that's one of the reasons. But there's not enough words in the English dictionary to articulate thoroughly how excited I am to kind of be able to share this with the world, because I don't see a lot of people covering, well, at least here in the States, I don't see a lot of people covering Progress Wrestling or British wrestling or any wrestling. So I'm excited because I love international talent. And literally in 2025, every promotion has wrestlers from all over the world, which makes me super excited. But let's talk about this specific chapter, which I also love that Progress Wrestling labels their shows as like chapters, like in a story in a book.
Mhm.
And I love that grittiness to the feel of the storytelling with the recaps we get and everything. So it's a lot of fun. But we are here for chapter 177, My Own Destiny. So this is coming off of hot off the heels, is about a week and a half later from the For the Love of Progress 3, which is kind of like a big traveling house show, because they were
Mhm.
it was attached to like a wrestling convention. But now we're back into the home base of the Electric Ballroom to have Progress be, well, Progress. And boy, howdy, do we have a lot of matches. And I'm like, Lord have mercy, this is a 4-hour show. I was like, I had to watch this in chunks to get through it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch like one or two matches here. I barely was able to finish it last night. I'm like, damn, these matches are long. But hey, I'm never gonna complain, because some of them were all of them I loved, but some of them were so fantastic. And we'll see if we agree on those. But we kick off the event with a tag team match. The only critique I have is Progress Wrestling. I need you to expand the ratio aspect size of your graphics. But you know what? I do love the colors and everything. But we kick things off for My Own Destiny with a tag team match, which sees Sanity, which is, Mr. Nikki Cross himself, Dillian. The fact that those two are married and the funniness that those two have is great.
Mm-hmm.
But we have, Mr. Nikki Cross teaming up with also, former Imperium member Actual Tish is now what he's going by here, taking on the team of Sunshine Machine. And I'm just like, oh, Sunshine Machine. I am very familiar with your game and your name. And, this is just a grudge match because, through happenstance, Sunshine Machine may or may not have accidentally cost Sanity maybe tag team contendership at one point. Also, I couldn't take them seriously in their Halloween costumes when they were cutting this promo too. I'm just like, this is ridiculous, but I love this so much. And we kind of had the blow off match to, Sanity and these Sanity like hating Sunshine Machine. Sunshine Machine wanted to make amends, but here we are. So I will give my thoughts first. I actually really love this. I really like this tag team match. I am familiar with Sunshine Machine, as I said, but this was really the first time where I sat through and watched be like, okay, let's see how you do as a tag team. And of course, the Sanity has been going on forever. Not to mention that these two boys are sometimes maybe not joined by TNA's Eric Young in some capacity when he comes through. And he's still on the merch, which I absolutely love. But this was an absolutely fun match for sure. And Sunshine Machine does pick up the victory. So, Andrew, I asked you this question. What did you think of Sanity versus Sunshine Machine opening up My Own Destiny?
I really enjoyed it. This was the first match that I'd actually seen Sunshine Machine in. I'm familiar with Sanity from their NXT days. And so I was happy when I started watching Progress to see that they were together still as a tag team. This match made me a really big fan of Sunshine Machine. I didn't think I was going to like them when they came down. Not that I was going to dislike them, but I didn't think I was going to be like, oh, cool, I'm really rooting for these guys. But when they started to pick up and actually started to fight back, I really enjoyed them. I think even with their like silliness, they still have some really good wrestling in there. I loved the he's Samoan spot. I thought they did really well. I think they work really well as a tag team, especially going against a team like Sanity. And so them winning this and then, getting some chances after this match following the victory, I'm really interested. I became a fan of Sunshine Machine through this match.
And as you kind of mentioned, we'll talk a little bit more about Sunshine. I know it's Sunshine. It's an easy word to say, but for some reason, when you put it next to Machine, the vowels and the consonants just don't want to come out properly. But we will be talking about Sunshine Machine once we get to our tag team championship match. And the things we heard, I'm like, ooh. I was like, ooh. I was like, dang, the world is just on fire right now. But anyways, but one thing I also love too, Sunshine Machine tried to make amends after the match to try to shake the hands, and then Sanity just giving them the bird and then walking out. I was like, yeah, that tracks for these two. I love Sanity. I love these two together. We saw it, even though we didn't review it. We saw a little bit of their more comedic and humor style in their promo deliveries, like at Unboxing, which was a lot of fun to watch those two have an actual match against each other, which was great. I thought this was a fun way and a very smart way to open up My Own Destiny. And that energy carried us into our second match of the evening, which, spoiler alert, this is not the actual match that happened, but we technically were supposed to have a one-on-one grudge match between Nico Angelo and Kid Lycos. Kid Lycos making his entrance. Then he gets taken out by Nico. And the match was about to be called off. But who should come and save the day but Kid Lycos' tag team partner in Kid Lycos the Second? Like, I was like, hey, you know what? He wrestled, he got into the ring, and we still had a match. This one was interesting in the fact that it also kind of still went into somewhat of a schmoz, which normally I'm not a big fan of, but because of what we got after the match and what's getting set up at Fix Your Hearts is kind of crazy. So, again, I've been a big fan of Lyco's Gym, both in progress and what we've seen them do in GCW and internationally as well. It's a lot of fun. This is my real first introduction to Nico Angelo, and I kind of dig him a little bit. I need to see a little more, but I do dig him a little bit. So, Andrew, what did you think of Nico Angelo versus Kid Lycos the second?
I mean, I thought it was good. It was more of a continuing on the story than an actual match, especially with the kind of non-finish that we got. I did see them wrestle previously, and Mills is Nico's partner, so I've seen them in action as a tag team before, and obviously I've seen Kid Lycos and Kid Lycos 2, Lycos Gym basically in action, both in singles and in tag team action, so I'm a fan of all of them. The match itself was more of for the storyline, but that being said, it did get me interested to see what's going to happen when I'm assuming all four of these people are going to throw down, and we're going to get to see a crazy match, because they are all four really, really good, and I'm looking forward to it.
I am super excited too. So let's talk about what happened after the match. So as Nico is kind of going up here, Lycos Gym, specifically Kid Lycos, gets on the mic. You know, Nico and Mills and Lycos Gym have been kind of feuding over the last couple of chapters here, but everything is going to come to a head at Fix Your Hearts as Kid Lycos challenges Nico and Mills to what has now been dubbed as a No Ropes I Quit match. So these two are going to go at it. These two teams are going to go at it, and if anybody's unfamiliar with an I Quit match, the only way you win is making your opponent say I quit. The most perfect example of recently one, and I highly recommend, is Josh Alexander versus Mike Santana at Genesis this year. That was a fantastic I Quit match, but I'm excited that because usually I Quit matches are usually single bouts. So I love the fact that we're getting a tag team I Quit match, because I actually haven't seen a tag team I Quit match before.
And no ropes.
And no ropes either. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm super excited. But that match happens at Fix Your Hearts, chapter 178. So from here, we get our third match of the evening. Love him or hate him, the internet, my personal favorite internet personality, Simon Miller. First of all, Simon Miller, I am very upset of how swole you are. And I just look at myself. I'm like, damn, I want to be Simon Miller when I grow up. But his internet personality fits so well with the champion, with him being the Progress Proteus champion, because we get a Proteus title match between our champion Simon Miller and the challenger in Will Cruz. We're going to talk about him and his whole entire little faction, because that is a hot mess that I'm here for. I was like, this is so British, it hurts, but like in the best way possible. I love it. Now, the cool thing with the Proteus title is, if you are not familiar with it, basically a stipulation is voted upon to figure out how you're going to win the match here. And for the audience, you are so devious. I love you. So for this particular title match, in order to win the match, you have to do a top rope maneuver of some kind before going to the pin. So it was very entertaining watching Simon Miller and Mr. Will here try to do the top rope stuff and falling and then landing on the no-nos bits from time to time as well. This was just entertaining. Was it the most technical thing for me? No. Did I laugh my ass off half the time? Yes. This is just pure fun. And also because I'm a weirdo who like the quote unquote voting aspect of like Taboo Tuesday and Cyber Sunday from the old school days too. So I was entertained by this. I don't give it, it doesn't get a lot of points in terms of like, oh my gosh, the technical masterpieces here. It's just fun wrestling, and sometimes that's what it needs to be. But Andrew, Simon Miller, Will Cruz for the Proteus Championship. What'd you think?
I mean, I'm there with you. I enjoy Simon Miller. I've enjoyed it, especially during the pandemic. He was one of the people that I followed along a lot and kind of followed both his journey in covering professional wrestling, getting into professional wrestling, as well as just his like fitness journeys and stuff like that. So I'm a big fan of him. I think he's someone who is very dedicated to wanting to have a career both in the ring and outside of the ring covering professional wrestling, and he wanted it and he went after it and he's got it. And you can't deny that. And I think he's also surprisingly really entertaining in the ring. Will Cruz is also very entertaining. I've seen some of his training videos and he's super funny in those as well. This match was fun enough. I will say it was a little bit of a letdown only because Simon Miller's last title defense against Charles Crowley was so much fun. It was a WWE finisher match. So you had to hit ridiculous. A known WWE finisher in order to win. And it was so much fun because it was nothing but a finisher spot fest. It was just like setting every one of your moves as a finisher in in a wrestling game, and that's what they were doing, and it was so entertaining. So this just didn't have that same kind of it wasn't even excitement, it was just entertainment to it, but it was still a fun match. I think with these two wrestlers, it's always going to be kind of more comedic than extremely technical or high flying or anything. But I think the lead up to the finish was good. I think Simon Miller runs this title really well, and it's a good fit for him. And he's really entertaining in the ring, both physically and how he interacts with the crowd. So I give him credit, and yeah, it was a fun match.
It definitely was a fun one, and of course, all the aftermath that happened. Poor Will getting chastised by his quote unquote family for being the worst nephew ever. But I did love the crowd was like, no, he's not. No, he's not. And I'm just like, oh, Electric Ballroom, I love you. But Simon Miller doesn't really have too long to relax because he's getting challenged by Gene Money at Fix Your Hearts for the Progress Proteus title. So we won't know the stipulation until before the actual start of the show, or Progress will let us know. But I look forward to listen. Simon Miller is being booked and blessed out here, and I love it for him because he's a great dude, or at least he's a great dude in my mind. Mm-hmm. Best entrance ever. Andrew's just so excited, you guys. I'm just kidding. Look, say what you will. I am thoroughly entertained with Man Like Dreese's entrance, but this is the next match that happens right after, the Proteus title match, in which we have new to Progress, or at least kind of debuting, quote unquote, for Progress at the Electric Ballroom in Miles Kamen, taking on, of course, Electric Ballroom's favorite sing-along band Like Trees. You know what, Andrew? I'm gonna just let you start with this one off. So, listen, it's okay. You be critical. That's what we're here for.
I know I might be one of the outliers here, but I fast forward through Man Like Teresa's intro every single time. It doesn't matter where he's wrestling. It just doesn't do it for me. It kind of feels dated. It also is just not entertaining for me. He does a good enough job, but it's one of those things where I'm like, maybe it hits different if you're there when it's happening, but it just doesn't do it for me. It feels, yeah, I it's not it. Anyway, I always do. I always flip through, skip over his entrance every single time he wrestles. Um, and I mean, I'm pretty harsh on anyone who comes in and sings or raps their entrance because you got to be really good. Um, and but that being said, in the ring, once his matches start, he's always super entertaining, always really good. He'll do comedic stuff with comedic wrestlers. He can go with high flyers. He can go with technical wrestlers. He can have hard hitting matches. He can be the funny, silly guy. He can be the kind of dorky, goofy guy. He can also just be like the hard hitter. So, as a professional wrestler, super good. I enjoy him a lot. And I thought Miles came in, looked really good. These two had a really good match, super entertaining. And I hold nothing against man like Doris. I just can't stand his entrance.
Hear that, y'all? He's a hater. I'm just kidding. No, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm one of I can't say one of the few because then the internet will come for me, but I'm okay with it. Like, I like it, but I totally understand and I validate your points too, because that's a fair criticism. I will say the song is a bit dated because I actually looked at when it came out and I'm like, Lord have mercy. I was still in, not even, I was not the legal drinking age yet. I was like, oops. But I'm thoroughly entertained because it's stupid, but that's just me. And as everybody on BC WrestlePod knows, I like me some stupidness in my wrestling all the time. It doesn't make sense. Is it the most fascinating thing? No, but I am here to be entertained. In the words of the legendary drag queen, Trixie Mattel, I'm not here for a long time, but I am here for a good time. So I am going to like it. But I do agree with you, Andrew, in the sense that once Doris starts his match and is actually wrestling, he's fantastic. And he is able to kind of adapt to it. Again, we saw a little bit more of the seriousness in his wrestling here against Miles Kamen, where we previously saw him kind of go back and forth between serious and comedic wrestling in his match against Maki Ito at Live in London with GCW. So that was also fun too. Of course, and I'm hoping that Doris is a little bit smarter than this because there have been reports that certain companies are looking to sign Doris and bring him to the States. And I'm like, no, don't do that because I'm sorry. I was born and raised here in America, but American crowds aren't as cool as the Electric Ballroom crowd. I am sorry. They are not going to be that cool. Of course, there'll be lots more of them, but American fans, we're not cool like that. I'm sorry. But I didn't like this match. And now, of course, this is not his first this is not his first time in Progress, but this is his more debut, if you will, to the Electric Ballroom. So I want to see more of Miles. Bring him back a couple more times, Progress. I want to see him. I actually kind of dig him. So let's go on to our next match. God, this was a long one, but in the best way possible. This was just for the Progress title. This was just for the Progress champion, like men's championship. And they just let them kill each other. Like, holy crap. So this is our champion, Luke Jacobs, taking on the challenger via winning the Thunder Bastard key from Unboxing in Tate Mayfairs, who's being accompanied and his best friend at ringside. Also, formerly from NXT UK, and Eddie Dennis. Love him. He's fantastic. Great wrestler. Very underrated. This was like a 45-minute match, and I was glued to the screen the entire time because I was waiting for, oh, God, they're doing what? Oh, God, what's this? Oh, my God. Listen, that picture of Luke Jacobs covered in blood, it was definitely the thing. That is what happened. We had ladders. We had throwing over the ropes. We had thumbtacks. We had staple guns. I was just like, Luke Jacobs literally got a piece of paper from the audience and stapled it to Tate Mayfair's. Like, this was a fun match. This was fantastic. I love this. Though I'm going to talk about like the fanboy in me had a different match of the night, but I was like, yeah, this is probably my favorite thing on this card. These two brutalized each other. This was a lot of fun. And this is just British wrestling where they're fighting each other and it hurts to watch, and I love to watch it. So before we get into what happens in the ending that causes Luke Jacobs to kind of win the match and then everything that transpired, Andrew, Progress Men's Championship on the line, Luke Jacobs versus Tate Mayfairs. How did you feel about the match?
I mean, I thought it was good. The build up that they've been going over and like kind of the character development and everything was really good. I've seen both these guys put on some really good matches, especially lately. So I knew it was going to be a really solid, hard hitting British style wrestling match. It was fun, all the like little extra props that they got to bring in. Like that he did staple a piece of paper to him to just be like, I'm going to show you that I'm actually stapling him. So that, that was a fun little added bit there. I had a feeling that Eddie Dennis was probably going to be involved in the finish somehow, but I expected it to be your classic, like, especially the way they were showing them talking beforehand, actively cause Tate to lose the match, like turn on him and all that kind of stuff. So I'm happy that they didn't go with that blatant of a way. But I thought it was a really good, fun match. I did feel like there was a bit in the middle that kind of slowed down, but it picked back up and really got some more excitement going, and it built to the finish in a really good way. So yeah, I thought this was an awesome match. I'm interested to see what Luke Jacobs' run is going to be like, because he's been on a solid run as the champion. I do have to say I also really enjoy that in Progress they call it the Progress Men's World Title and not just the Progress World Title. That they're like, this is the Progress Men's World Title, that's the Progress Women's World Title, and so like it's the men's is not the default world title. So I thought that was interesting because that's the first time I really noticed it was watching this card.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one thing I really like about Progress is the fact that your top two championships are referred to. No, this is the men's title, not the world's title, and this is the women's one because both are equally important in this company and in the business. So I really love this match. After the match, though, because of everything that transpired, Tate Mayfairs ultimately loses the match. Very upset with Eddie Dennis. Like initially, and they played me. Progress played me so well. I was so mad at them. I was like, "Oh, you got me." So because Tate's mad at Eddie Dennis, they both go to the back. We get like the taking a break logo pop up for like 5 seconds, and then Eddie Dennis throws Tate Mayfairs out from the curtain, takes it to the ring, gets on the mic, basically snaps, but not turning fully on Tate. It's just like, you know what? I was like, you don't respect me. Like, you think I did that on purpose? Like, how dare you? I am your friend, kind of thing. And ultimately, Tate wants to prove that the student has surpassed the teacher, and it is time for this mentor and mentee relationship to come to a head. So at Fix Your Hearts, it is Eddie Dennis versus Tate Mayfairs in a last man standing match. I'm like, oh yes, one of my favorite stipulations in wrestling, well, at least in the current wrestling bait. And I think Eddie and Tate are going to bring it. Like, both of them are really great in the ring. And I'm really excited to truly see like the actual dynamic of Eddie Dennis, the teacher, take on his student, and Tate Mayfairs. I'm excited. This is going to be a fun match. So this is where we then take a little bit of break, which I appreciate that Progress kind of divides their show into halves, if you will. Also, can we shout out Jerry Blackwell as the host and the MC running for all of this too? I was just like, huh?
Bakewell.
Bakewell. Not Blackwell.
Like a Bakewell tart.
Got it. Bakewell. I love him so much.
Yeah, he's ridiculous, but it's such a good like British way.
It really is. And before we move on to our next match, I also say that while Tate is going to be busy fighting Eddie at Fix Your Hearts, Luke Jacobs is going to be really busy at Vegas in April because it was just recently announced within the last 24 hours or so. Luke Jacobs will be defending his Progress Men's Championship against one of my new favorite peoples on the planet, and Michael Oku in Vegas. So I'm like, oh my God, this is about to slap. Also, we're going to talk about the women's Progress title being defended in Vegas, which I think will also slap as well, because we're going to talk about one of the participants in just a little bit, like right now, because she kind of comes into play in a little bit. So here's the running storyline, because I had to look this up because I was a little bit confused. So technically, we had Kanji challenge Nina Samuels to a Progress Women's Championship. Nina Samuels has not answered that. So until then, we had a fatal four-way number one contenders match to see who would be the next person to take on Nina Samuels for the Progress Women's Championship. Of course, we have Nina on commentary in her, quote unquote ring gear or her regular clothes. The dead giveaway that there was ring for me personally, the dead giveaway that she had a ring gear on was the fact that she was on commentary with her little hat. I was just like, that little hat was dead giveaway. You don't wear that normally unless you're about to get into the wrestling ring, which, okay, before we talk about the match. So Nina has had a transformation when it comes to character, right? So I was introduced to Nina Samuels in NXT UK. Remember, she was doing like the gossip talk show host kind of thing. Like she would go back around the Nina Samuels show, interviewing wrestlers and things like that. And now she is, what's the nice word of putting it? She's a chicken shit heel, basically. She will blindside you and then run, and she's very in the, what's the word the kid used? She's in very Delulu land, if you will, like very delusional and grandeur and everything. I need to see. I know Nina Samuels can wrestle, and she can wrestle very well. And maybe it's just me, and because this iteration of Nina is still fresh for me, I kind of feel right now that the character is overtaking the in-ring ability a little bit. I don't know. Andrew, am I wrong in assuming this? Because what happens after this and watching that little bit, I'm like, I don't know if I think this character is overtaking the wrestling for me, or maybe it's just me. I don't know. What do you think before we talk about this number one contenders match?
Well, what I think will tie into what happens with this match and beyond. I have been less than impressed with her title run. I will say her last title defense was actually a really good, entertaining match. For the love, that was for the love of progress, I believe, right? Yeah. And I thought that match was really good, but I'm pretty sure that's been the only actual match that she's had. It started off very sour for me because I did not like the way that she won the title. Especially because Rio was so close to having the longest title run record, not just women's, in Progress. And it felt weird that they took the title off of her. And I was like, okay, maybe she's injured, maybe something's going on. And then she came back for other matches. So I'm not really sure why they did that title change the way that they did. It was really weird. Unless we're going to find out some more information, like Rio's going to be leaving or something like that. But that started off sour, and then the way things kind of played out with this match and afterwards made me more questionable of like, is this title reign being handled as well as it could?
No, I 100% agree with you, and I want to say I like all four of these talents because for different reasons I think they're all great. But I also felt this was unfortunately my least favorite match, and that's not because of the match portion itself. It's everything that happened after this number one contenders match that kind of soured me a little bit. But we do have this number one contenders match, so it's Fatal Four Way, which sees Session Moth Martina versus Lana Austin versus Lord, forgive me for butchering this last name, but Rain Leverkusen, yeah, Kusen,
Leverkusen.
Leverkusen, got it. By the way, I love her aesthetic. I love her thing. I was like, you are coming out of the 80s, and I'm here for it. It's giving me glam rock, and I'm here for it. Also, of course, one of also my personal favorites, just because she and Charles Riley as a tag team as cheeky little bastards were some of the funniest bits ever. And Mrs. Alexis Falcon. I mean, to be perfectly fair, it really came down to a one-on-one because we had two of them be fighting off towards the back by the red shirts, which, by the way, I did not know that was a term until this evening, which was fantastic. And this is where it kind of soured me because I got excited because the winner and the new number one contender was, Rain, and I was excited for her. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fun later down the line. And then when she immediately loses her number one contendership because she gets into a match with Nina Samuels afterwards and loses. So I was like, why have this number one contender match if this is what we're going to do with it? So the number one contenders match was fun. I like all four of these women, but this absolutely soured me, especially because it got connected to Nina Samuels and everything that happened afterwards. So it was a shame, really.
I 100% agree. I feel like it made it kind of a waste. Like, I mean, it wasn't a waste to see the four of them wrestle because they did well and, hey, get your time in the ring. But you could have done something with this. And what I was expecting was, because they kept hinting on the fact that Alexis Falcon can't challenge for that title, they were talking about how, this would be the best win for her because then Alexis can't challenge for it, so she doesn't have to defend her title. I was hoping what was going to happen was Alexis Falcon would win, and then either right after the match or at some point, someone of authority would come out and be like, well, she won the titles or she won the match, so technically that trumps the fact that she can't challenge for it. Like that breaks that contract, that agreement, because she's like won her chance back. But like maybe it's her only chance back. Like she can't, like, it doesn't negate it for the future. It just means this one time she can have another shot. So then we would have a match set up with for Alexis Falcon challenging for that title. It just felt like it was kind of a letdown for Rain that, like, not only did she just get her shot right away, but it was like 45 seconds or something, and then it was over, and then that was her whole title shot. It I hate to say this, but it felt very Ring of Honor to me.
I mean, it hurts to hear you say that, but at the same time, I can't disagree with you because that's what it also felt like. It's like, oh crap, here. I'm like, no, that's not it. What are you doing? So it was definitely a bummer because before all that, I enjoyed the number one contenders match. I just hated everything afterwards. Like, yeah, it was definitely sour, and unfortunately, this was my least favorite part of the show. But again, not because of the in-ring performance, but of how we're handling this story per se. So it took me a little bit to get into our semi-main event, which was for the Progress Tag Team Championships, which saw the challengers in, not new to us anymore because we got to see him a little bit in GCW Live in London last month. But we have Ahil Blanc and his tag team partner Kudo taking on the Progress Tag Team Champions, the Smoking Aces. I'm gonna be honest. I had no worries that Smoking Aces were losing these tag team championships, especially since commentary kept reminding us that this is their third tag team title reign, and they are 128 days, I believe, was the number they said right now in this current reign. So good on Smoking Aces. Loved it. This is a fun match. Mr. Blanc, you are hella tall. I was like, you are hella tall. I'm like, whoa. And of course, this was my first introduction to Kudo. I want to see more of him. I think I find him interesting. I do like his style of wrestling. And man, the Smoking Aces are really good as a tag team. I actually really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
This was a fun tag team championship match, but I do agree. I do think that this was more for the setup of what we got after the match and the promo off, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But Andrew, what did you think of this tag team title match?
I 100% agree. I thought it was a fun match. At no point did I ever think that we were going to have new champions. But I did appreciate all four of the competitors in the ring. Getting to see more of the Smoking Aces was fun because they are a really solid tag team. And having seen some of the other tag teams that are in progress, just as a tag team fan, that excites me. Blanc, I've only seen wrestle once before, and he wrestled Sidney Akeem. So, it was fun to see these two come in and wrestle. Kuro, I've never seen before, never even heard of before. At first, honestly, when they came out, I thought that was Kevin Knight teaming with Blanc.
I kid you not. I was like, yo, Kevin Knight, is that you?
But yeah, I mean, it was a fun tag team matchup. I was surprised that it was for the title, but I mean, why not? Yeah, I thought all four of them did a really good job.
So let's talk about where a lot of the kick happened. So the match was fun. Smoking Aces retain. They get on the mic, but then they get interrupted by, and I can pronounce this time, Sunshine Machine. Darn it, I still messed it up. My lips don't move the way that they need to, but Sunshine Machine come out to interrupt. Smoking Aces, are like, y'all are lame. Y'all are garbage. Smoking Aces don't want nothing to do with Sunshine Machine. And Sunshine Machine get into the ring. And there's a lot of history between these two teams. In the short little promo that we got, I understood the history between these two teams immediately, which is really nice use of show, don't tell me. And essentially what this turns into is Sunshine Machine wants a shot at those tag team titles. Smoking Aces initially say no, but then the stipulation gets added from Sunshine Machine that they want a tag team title match, and if they lose, they will not challenge for those tag titles again. And of course, between all that, we also found out that we have to wait until March because there's some visa problems. So I was like, no, not visa issues. The world is weird that way.
Yeah, I mean, things are getting even more challenging for travel between countries and stuff now, but I'm excited for that matchup when it does happen. But I think it's going to be a really fun match, and I would not be mad at Sunshine Machine walking out as the champion, so it'd be pretty fun.
I agree with you there. So as of right now, that tag team championship match is scheduled for Fix Your Hearts on March 30th. So hopefully that will give Progress enough time to kind of settle out, sort out this visa issue for one half of Sunshine Machine, because I want to see, and yeah, I would love to see those two walk out as tag team champions by beating Smoking Aces. But I think that match is definitely going to be fun. So now let's talk about the main event. While not the most technically oh my gosh, this is a masterpiece, my little fanboy heart. This was my fanboy match of the night. Like, I have talked extensively and to death, and everyone here at BC WrestlePod gets tired of me when I mention her name. But my love for the legend that is Meiko Satomura in Japanese pro wrestling in general and women's Japanese wrestling is on the same levels of my admiration for Sumi Sakai, who also just retired not too long ago herself. So this is a retirement tour match between, one of Progress's probably top women, in my personal opinion, Rio, taking on the legendary, wrestler Meiko Satomura, who is on her retirement tour. So this is a dream retirement tour match for Meiko. Shout out. I love Rio's entrance theme. I'm like, it's so hood. I love it. I was like, also, black excellence in the ring, coming out in the box braids and everything. I love that. My little fanboy heart loved this match. I loved it so much. I'm like, Mako, I'm gonna cry when you retire in April. I am not ready to say goodbye to you. But this was a hell of a fun match. And honestly, I don't there, we review wrestling and we have to give our honest critiques and our opinions, but when it's a retirement tour match like this, I can give some critiques, but it's really hard for me to do that. So I don't really have too much of notes. The only thing I will say that did I think this was going to be a barn burner? No, but I still enjoyed the time, and I'm just gonna miss Mako. That's what I came out of this match. I'm like, damn, I'm gonna miss her when she retires, and like how much she means to me personally, and how much she's been an inspiration for women's wrestling in general, not just in Japan but across the world too. But I thought the match was really really fun. And for Progress to have Rio be the one to be the opponent for Mako in her final UK match in her career is really special. But we do got to get to the critiquing. So, Andrew, what did you think of our main event, Rio versus Mako Satomura?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't the most high paced, overblown excitement match, but I will say it felt very much like Rio basically told Mako, like, beat the crap out of me while we're out there. Because she just took everything that Mako threw at her, and it was, I mean, when they collided, it was hard hitting, and I loved that we saw Rio use her strength and her power game. It was like every time that Mako started getting some, forward momentum, Rio just like used some force, put her down, caught her with the back elbow, caught her with a clothesline, shoulder tackle, whatever. But it was just like, it was those kind of matches where you can like feel the impact. And so I think it didn't need to have like high flying or like super crazy action and like high octane speed to it. That finish was brutal. That like series, that those the Death Valley bombs that she hit, that Satomura special was pretty awesome. So I thought there was a lot of really fun parts in it. I think it felt very much like, and I haven't seen the rest of her tour matches, but this felt like she was passing the torch in this match. And I agree with you. Rio is definitely one of the top wrestlers in Progress. And I think she's going to be one of those people too, that if she wants to go on to bigger stages, she'll definitely be a great addition to any of those bigger promotions if she wants to move to any of those promotions. She's got an athleticism and an intensity about her that I don't think we always see, and we don't see, especially in some of the more mainstream promotions that we've gotten to see from a lot of women wrestlers. We're seeing more and more of them. I think people like Rhea Ripley, and some of those performers in places like WWE have made it, people are bigger fans of them, and so those promotions are like, oh hey, maybe we can have women that do these things. And obviously we see them in some other promotions, with like the indies have a lot of them, but it seems like those things kind of get diluted as people move into the bigger, even in AEW. We've got some powerful women wrestling there, but it's still something that's kind of coming up, and I feel like Rio is one of those performers that's coming up too in that kind of style. So I'm looking forward to seeing her do more. And like I said, when we were talking about the women's world title in Progress, I was bummed to see her drop that, because when I came in, it was just like right at the end of her title reign. And I was really excited to see her make this run, like right before she lost her title. I was super pumped. I was like, oh, she's going to beat this record. That's going to be so cool. And then it's kind of a letdown. So I know she's got some more matches coming up, so I'm excited to see her in those matches and see kind of what's on the docket for her. But as far as this match specifically goes, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was an awesome, kind of final match for her in Progress. and I thought it was an awesome moment for Rio. You know, I think it's always special when performers get to perform against uh, legends, people that they probably grew up watching, or people that they've trained with, or been trained by, people who, you know, kind of paved the way for them, especially when they're getting to retire, and you get to be like one of those people. And so it was a pretty special moment, I think, for everyone involved. And I think Progress did a good job of like showing that. Even post match, I think there was a lot of really cool fanfare, you know, the locker room all coming out and everything. So I thought that was a really good cap off for this show. And, you know, kudos to both these wrestlers, Rio, who's kind of, you know, hitting the peak of her career and just starting out there, and Mako, who's getting ready to say farewell.
I 100% agree. I thought this was a really fun main event, capping off, you know, the UK run for Mako Satomura. Again, she retires at the end of April, where she will be retiring in Japan. I'm going to keep my eye out to figure out when that last match is going to be and who her opponent is. But man, 2025 is a crazy year. We're about to say goodbye to Mako Satomura as an in-ring professional wrestler. There's lots of Japanese legends retiring. Again, we're having Mako retire in April. We just had Sumi Sakai, you know, retire not too long ago either, which is crazy to say, but this was a fun match. I loved it. Rio's also going to have a busy April because still nothing for Nina Samuels, you know, answering Kanji's challenge. So Rio gets another shot to regain her championship, because at Progress Las Vegas, it will be Nina Samuels versus Rio for the Progress Women's title. Progress, I love you for everything, and I will always support you, but I'm really hoping, just, you know, maybe, I would love to see Rio recapture her title, because I think she has so much potential and more to give. Don't get me wrong, I love Nina, but I don't like the presentation we got so far, and I think Rio getting her title back would be kind of fun to see her also now go on a rampage again, but I digress. But that does bring us to the end of Progress Chapter 177, My Own Destiny. I had a fun time with this review, even despite the ups and downs and the critiques we had. I'm just happy that I get to bring British wrestling to BC WrestlePod, and this has been in the works forever. And the cool thing is that this is not the only Progress show that we're going to be bringing. Oh no, because like I mentioned before, it's going to be a couple of weeks because the show is on March 30th. But if schedules line up, Andrew and I will be back to review Fix Your Hearts. And of course, they also announced during the show that during the summer, one of my personal favorite name shows, just because it's so crazy, is their Far From Ordinary People show as well. So unfortunately, as much as I really want to review the Las Vegas show, there's just so much going on that whole week that we're already booked and blessed with. So it's about to get crazy. But we're not going anywhere with Progress. We are going to continue to cover it here, just like we covered GCW. So I'm excited because Andrew and I are now expanding the international/independent scene here in BC WrestlePod. And yes, my goal in 2025 is to indoctrinate at least half of these BC WrestlePod dudes into watching these stuff. We're getting close to the professor. We lured him in with GCW. Now we just got to get him on the Progress bandwagon. We'll get there. I brought lots of Kool-Aid. Anyways, that's going to be it for us here at the Progressive Review team here. I could be punny sometimes. We will be back in April to review Fix Your Heart. But, you know, who knows? You may see me and Andrew a little bit sooner than that, depending on how schedules work out, because there's lots of GCW shows this month. Holy crap. Andrew has his work cut out for him, and so do I. As you know, we're going to be covering a lot of things. So we are ending our week tomorrow night with TNA Wrestling. TNA has their own build going up on, as we are getting ever so close to the next TNA pay-per-view. Sacrifice, former matches were made tonight, which is ranging from, I have questions about this too. Oh my God, we're about to see bitches fight. Anyways, listen, of the 4 new matches we get, Sammy and Mance, I need them to destroy and bleed. That's all I ask for. Be crazy. I need to see a door spot. Anyways, and then of course, Sunday we have WWE, and then Monday, finally, after what was like somewhat of a dry spell, we have WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view review, and then strap in, kids, because after the Elimination pay-per-view for like 8 to 9 weeks straight, there's like one pay-per-view a whole entire week. We have Fix Your Heart for Progress. We have Sacrifice for TNA, Revolution for AEW, and then April is going to be jam-packed. Let me list all the stuff we have for April for y'all, so you truly understand what you're about to be in store for, because April and May is about to get crazy. Because in April, we kick things off with New Japan Windy City Riot, which is, the Ace's final USA appearance, as he's also on a retirement tour. I'm not ready for that one either. But we have Windy City Riot, MLW's Battle Riot 7. We have Bloodsport 13 as part of Hell Week, as well as Joey Janela's Spring Break 9, NXT Stand and Deliver, both nights of WrestleMania, so watch along and reviews for that. And then it doesn't stop, because May is just as crazy, because I'm super excited. We will be there's also TNA Rebellion review, which is going on in April, which I get to go to live and review. But my personal favorite thing that's coming up in May is we get to review the Super Strong Style 16 tournament from Progress, which is always a crazy tournament. Then we have Azteca Lucha with MLW CMLL, more Japanese wrestling with the New Japan Strong Resurgence, Maple Leaf Wrestling. Like, we're covering the spectrum here, so it's about to get crazy and busy. So if you want to stay alert to all this, follow us on the socials, like our YouTube, and follow us on Twitch, because strap in, like, I'm putting these men to work. I'm putting these boys to work here, and I am appreciative of their help in all of this. But that's going to be it for us here at Progressives. So from myself and Andrew and the rest of the BC Wrestle Pod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. I will see you, everybody, here on the internet tomorrow with my co-host Will for TNA. But until then, sayonara, adios, and Audi 5000. We'll talk to you later.